Okay, Rima, thanks for that. In fact, Rima and Agam, thanks for giving us all of those stocks. But let's talk fundamentals now. Mayuresh Joshi and SP Tulsian join into our discussion to tell us what they have made of a lot of the big stock movements that we've seen in the last couple of days. Gentlemen, afternoon to both of you. Mr. Tulsian, I want to start off with you. ICICI Bank is the big talking point of today. A huge cut seen in terms of both volume and price action over there. Because of the way the numbers have shaped up, do you see the stock getting back to its 52-week lows of 180 thereabouts anytime soon?
So Sonia, difficult to give a target of 180, but if you recall on Friday we had a brief session of bull and bear where I have given my bear view on the stock, because I don't think that you have respite on any front, because as I have said earlier also, that special provision, contingency provisions of 3600 does not mean that you have put an end to the asset deterioration. And apart from that, if you see the flat advances, and even a deposit growth of just meager 4%, and so many other issues, involved into it, and actually the kind of run up a week back, when the stock moved to a level of 250, I said that the stock price is looking quite dangerous, and I won't be surprised to see the share sharply correcting in the new series. But it has started happening 2 days prior to that only, because results came on the first day of new series. So I won't be surprised to see a level of maybe about 210 or so. Difficult to say for about 100 at 185 can be seen or not, because the kind of new buying which has happened, maybe they may not come and book the profits entirely, because many of them may have held the investment for a longer time. But I am keeping a negative stance, because you don't have respite on any front from Q4 numbers seen from the bank.
Oh yes, Mr. Tulsian was bearish on Friday when we were having the bull versus bear segment. But Mr. Tulsian, the other talking point of the day has been the big rally that we have seen in Shriram Transport Finance. That's now up about 14%. Do you think it deserves this kind of re-rating from the market, that we have seen this kind of big surge in stock?
Anuj, I don't think that this deserves this kind of re-rating, because let me first come on the Q4 numbers. The provisions bad debts and provisions have doubled, more than doubled, from 420 to about 860 crore. That kind of increase we have seen in the bad debt and provisioning. And if you see the notes presented by the company, 98% of that has been booked as bad debts. That is not a provision, mind it. Because if you have a provision, then you have chances of recovery. So maybe if the bad debts have been booked to the extent of 98%, I don't think that there is any kind of a revival or recovery to be seen going ahead, number two. Number three, if you see the provisions, 29% of the interest income has been provided in Q4, and even if you take for whole of FY16, it is at 20% of the total interest having earned by the company. I don't think that these kind of provisions or bad debts are made by any NBFC. The general thumb rule says that this is anywhere between 10 to 12% of the interest income earned by the company. But I think maybe the stock was having accumulated prior to the results. If you recall, stock moved from 840 to about level of 940, and good accumulation seen having happened during that period. So maybe those strong hands have seen, but the only trigger which I could see, that Umesh Revankar, who was earlier at the helm of the affairs, has been elevated. Probably market was not very happy with the kind of, I'm not prepared to accept the argument that equipment finance, because equipment finance provision had already happened, if you recall, in the Q4 of FY15, and the effect of that has got booked by the company in Q4 of FY15, and that is why for whole of FY16 we have been seeing the quarterly numbers presented by the company on a standalone basis. So whatever quality deterioration of the equipment finance has happened last year. So this is a fresh slippage, or I won't call it as a slippage, I will call it as a bad debt, because that is what the company has presented, that the bad debt to the extent of 98% has been booked by the company. So I am honestly surprised by this kind of upmost, because you may have some kind of upgrades coming in from
Mr. Tulsian, just hold on to that. We have the L&T Finance numbers, so I'm just going to come to you on that as well. The profits have grown to 237 crores versus 206 crores on a year-on-year basis. So that looks like a healthy up move that we've seen, at least in the profitability.
That's 15% growth in net profit on simple calculation. So it looks quite good at 237 crore. And again, it's that kind of a day where the market is rewarding good earnings. So at least the net profit is better than estimates. Sonia's digging out some more details. Maybe she has some more information on the income.
No, I'm trying to open the press release, but I really can't do that at this point in time. But what I'm awaiting, of course, is the asset quality, whether there's any pressure that L&T Finance has seen. But for now, the prima facie number is what the stock is really getting attracted by. So 15% growth is what we've seen in the net profit number coming in. Just a couple of more details. Okay, before we get to that, Mr. Tulsian, do you want to comment on this? We just have one number for, okay, that's the NII number as well. If you could just get that back up. I think I saw 830 crores as far as the NII number is concerned. That compares to 830. That's good, because that's compares to 706 crores on a year-on-year basis. So that is quite a healthy growth of almost about 18% that we are seeing in NII as well. So NII up about 18%. The profits are up about 15-odd%. That's a healthy set that we're seeing, at least prima facie numbers that we have, and the stock is reacting as well. Mr. Tulsian, you want to come in on this quickly, the two top line and bottom line number that we have?
Sonia, NII looks good, but if you really see the behavior, actually, I don't think that people are giving any attention to this NBFC, because this seems to have been, totally out of focus of the investors. But yes, NII looks good. I'm not that impressed with the bottom line, but NII looks good.
The
yes, in fact, I think something
have also gone down. The gross NPAs have actually fallen. So I think that's something that the street will like as well.
No, I think before that, Sonia, this number actually is better than what it looks like, because the total tax expense has gone up quite a bit, from 57 crore to 98 crore, and still the company has posted this kind of number. If you look at profit before tax, that's gone up from 260 crore to 334 crore. So the growth in profit before tax is actually much higher than the 15% number that we're talking about. It's because of the taxation angle that you're seeing this kind of number, but this clearly goes down as a good set of number, because the net profit growth of 15%, the PBT growth is over 20%. So that for me is the standout number as far as these numbers are concerned.
Also, the management has indicated that there's a substantial improvement in the gross NPAs of the farm portfolio, and that has led to the overall gross NPAs as well falling. So the gross NPAs have fallen to 2.67% versus 2.88% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, and the absolute gross NPAs have also declined. That's because of an improvement in the farm portfolio. 5% almost higher now.
The PBT growth is actually 28%, 334 crore compared to 260 crores. Mr. Tulsian, could that be the reason you're seeing this kind of big surge in the stock?
Possible, Anuj, because I have not yet gone through the entire breakup what you all have, but yes, looks like, yeah.
Okay, just one more number. The management does say that they've seen a 22% growth in loans and advances, so that is very healthy as on 31st March 2016. So looks like a very good set of numbers on all parameters. Asset quality has improved, the profits are up 15%, NII growth of almost 20%, and 22% growth in loans and advances as well. Mayuresh, do you track L&T Finance? The stock is showing almost a 4% rally now.
Well, yes, Sonia. Again, I think if you look at the operational numbers prima facie, I think they look quite reasonable, as the street was expecting a muted performance to come through from the Palm portfolio. Now, the Palm portfolio is something which has disappointed L&T Finance over the past so many quarters. And again, I think the infrastructure finance business has largely been stable in terms of both asset quality as well as their credit costs remaining stable. So I think the increase in credit costs, specifically on the Palm portfolio over the past few quarters, has been a deterring issue for L&T Finance. And the consolidated numbers have been a drag because of this issue. But I think prima facie, if you look at these numbers, it seems that the Palm portfolio has done well, and that the monsoons are much better than one really expects. My own take is that this asset quality underperformance that we probably witnessed, I think if that shows signs of improvement, you might have some amount of re-rating, because this stock has underperformed over the past so many quarters and years.
Okay, having said that, in fact, the stock is now inching close to a 52-week high, because yes, it's been an underperformer, but if you see the kind of run that we have seen in the NBFC names, the move started about a week back. Let's pull out the chart of L&T Finance Holdings. The market bottomed out, of course, right on the budget day. Since then, the entire market has moved on, but L&T Finance Holdings has rallied from 50 now all the way up to 74. And to tell you something, you know, all the numbers look good, but it's the PBT growth which is really driving this kind of re-rating, because if you were to adjust for the tax, it's a 28% growth in the bottom line, or in the profit before tax. Coupled with that, of course, the asset quality and NII growth, market is hungry for this right now. And
oh yes, and you know, this whole theme is playing out. As we were saying, this theme has become a favorite of the market. M&M Finance, Shriram Transport, Cholamandalam. I just want to mention some more details for the investor who holds L&T Finance. The disbursement growth has been robust this quarter. So 20% overall disbursement growth is what we've seen at 10,688 crores. If you split it up, the wholesale finance disbursements have grown 30% for L&T Finance at 3,400 crores, while retail finance is up by almost 16% at 7,284 crores. So there's no complaints at all as far as L&T Finance numbers are concerned. But let's get our technical guests into this as well. First to you, Ashwini, is this a chart that you track? Anuj was telling us the kind of up move it's seen. Any more upsides from this 75 rupee level?
See, it's clear from the way it's moved from levels of 50 that something was cooking here, and definitely probably it's now getting out of jail now, and chances are that we could see levels of 90 coming soon on L&T Finance. And finally, you know, people who held on thinking this is such a pedigreed you know, financial institution may get their reward, as it could even cross levels of 90, because major buying seems to be happening around these levels, and chances are we could get past even 90 on L&T Finance.
Okay, Mr. Tulsian, what would be on top of your list in terms of pecking order for some of these NBFCs? We have seen a rally now across the board. M&M Finance, L&T Finance, today Shriram Transport. So many of these stocks, Chola has rallied. Which of these stocks you like the most?
Anuj, looking to the Chola numbers, probably I'll go with Chola followed by Bajaj Finance, because if you see Shriram Transport and Mahindra Finance, both have seem to have run, you know, quite ahead of the maybe monsoon expectations, and we have discussed on Shriram Transport for a while. But now if you can add the L&T Finance holding also, because on the, if you see on a valuation parameter, it's ruling maybe on a forward on FY6, that's current year's earning, it is ruling at a P multiple of maybe about 17 times with a price to book of about maybe 3.6 or something like that, you know. So I think that these things are looking quite good.
Oh yes, quite good indeed. Well, it has hit a new high, the L&T Finance, new 52-week high, that is, L&T Finance, and this stock is up almost 55% in the last 3 months. Good set of numbers coming in as well. Those are SML Isuzu's numbers. That's also another stock which has been on the radar of a lot of investors. Very, very good numbers coming in on a year-on-year basis for SML Isuzu. 60% higher now for that particular counter. And look at the way that stock is spiking up. I'm just going to try to get a month-on-month performance as well. Remember, this is a commercial vehicle manufacturer. It has a very high exposure towards the passenger commercial vehicles, and if you look at, if you can just pull up a 12-month chart, you'll realize the kind of up move that this stock has seen. Mr. Tulsian, I know you track SML Isuzu, if I remember correctly. Is this a stock that you would recommend? I mean, the 12-month chart, of course, the stock has fallen quite a bit. But if you look at the last couple of months, the run-up has been pretty good.
See, Sonia, actually SML Isuzu always posts the best Q4, Q1 numbers, and that actually gets translated into their financial working also. And Q2, Q3 are always seen to be dull and boring. And if I go by the last quarter, they had in April 876, May 1405, and June 1529. So maybe if I expect that always, you know, May and June are seen to be the best for SML Isuzu. But I think that for April, they already seem to have achieved much more than what they have all been posting. So yes, the numbers are looking really very good numbers, and that will eventually get translated into the Q1 working also 3 months down the line. Yeah.
All right, let's do one thing. We'll take a break on that note. Our closing bell money control question of the day is: Ambit Capital believes that Sensex is likely to touch 22,000 by end of this year. Do you agree? Log on to moneycontrol.com and post your responses, and we'll read some of the most interesting ones post 3:30.
And on the other side of the break, we'll also be talking about a lot more mid-caps. Daljit Singh Kohli of India Nivesh Securities will give us his top stock ideas this earnings season. Welcome back to the show. Although the headline index may be down about more than 0.5%, there are plenty of stocks that are looking very good at this point in time. New highs for names like Biocon, Marico, Cholamandalam, Navin Fluorine, etc. Bharat Bijli is one more stock that has been hitting new highs day after day. And VST Tiller Tractors, remember both the companies, Escorts and M&M, reported good tractor numbers. VST Tiller Tractors is another one that's up almost about 3.5%, a fresh high on that one. But let's talk about some trading ideas. Sandeep Wagle joins us now to tell us what to buy or sell today for a trade tomorrow. Sandeep, what are you looking at in terms of strategies for the last half an hour?
Sonia, I would go with the buy in a Marico, stop loss 260.50, target 272.50. A buy in a Kane India, that is looking good, stop loss 148, target 157. And a sell in a Orient Bank, stop loss 91, target 83.
All right, Sandeep, thanks a lot for those trading ideas. So that's a couple of calls. The Nifty is stuck at 7,800 at this point in time, not moving much from there. And if you see individual stocks, it's Dr. Reddy's which stands out for its weakness now. About 2.5% lower is what we have on Dr. Reddy's. But let's discuss some mid-cap ideas. Daljit Singh Kohli also joins in from India Nivesh Securities. Daljit, hi, good afternoon. Meghmani Organics, what's the story here? Of course, the agri theme is doing well. Why Meghmani?
Yeah, good afternoon. See, in the last quarter, if we see, Meghmani was not performing so well because its agri-chemical business was not doing very well. They have three divisions: pigments, agri, and then the basic chemicals. And basic chemicals was muted, pigments was just doing okay. Now this time we've seen that actually it's firing up on all three, because chemical, pigment side we've seen from China things coming, some plants closing down, that is helping them. Agri, we have seen the numbers from UPL, from Rallis, all of them are showing some improvement there, and basic chemicals is again on the normal track record. So which means that all three divisions doing well will result in company doing better. Though on top line we are expecting for Q4, numbers are yet to come, but we are expecting a top line growth of 6% but bottom line growth of 45%. So that is because all the benefit of all this period, price hikes, the savings on debt, etc., all will play out here. So I think the numbers should be fantastic for Meghmani Organics.
But the stock has already doubled in the last 12 months, Daljit, and your own target price is 34, which is where the stock is at currently. For an investor, what kind of value do you see beyond this level?
Yeah, see, at around 34, it will be trading at around 6 or 6.5 times of EV to EBITDA of FY17. Now, normally the peer average would be around 8 times. Companies like Atul or Sudarshan, each company is different in this segment, so it's not comparable exactly, but normally the range is between 8 to 10 times. So if you are talking of 8 times, then also you'll get around 45 or so. So I guess the number, why we have not changed the target is mainly we'll wait for the numbers to come in next 1 week, 15 days, whenever numbers come, then we'll wait, increase the target. But I'm seeing that this is easily possible, around 45 or so target can come.
Okay, by the way, the stock that's surging now is SML Isuzu that we were just discussing, and that stock is now in fact at the high point of the day. Parry Sugar, that's reported a good net profit. Let's pull that out again. Parry Sugar, because sugar stocks have done well, and Parry Sugar is the one which is first off the block. 5% higher is what we have. Net profit of 20 crore versus 5 crore year on year. Mr. Tulsian, you've been saying that expect record numbers from sugar companies. Do you track Parry Sugar, a relatively smaller one? Any thoughts on this one?
See, Anuj, actually this is just a trailer of the sugar profits. I have said that FY17 will be the record profit because the simple reason, actually let me first distinguish between Parry Sugar and the other UP based sugar mill. Generally what happens with the Tamil Nadu sugar based mills, that they whatever they produce, they sell the quantity. They don't carry much inventory, while the UP based sugar mills will be carrying about 75% of their production which they produce in this season as an inventory, which will get sold in the next 5 to 6 months. Now inventory is valued at less than 30 rupees per kg, and now sugar is getting sold at 35 rupees per kg. So the kind of profits which they will be booking is going to be phenomenal, which has not been seen in the past. So the 4, 5, 6 UP based sugar mill companies will all be posting the record FY17 profit. I am not saying that Q4 will not be good. Even Q4 on a sequential basis will be posting a growth of about 50% to 100% or maybe 120%. Coming on Parry Sugar, in fact, again, I have to look for the inventory what they have been carrying. I have not been able to analyze the results, but I am not keeping that kind of positive bias. Though I am, on a relative basis, UP based sugar mills will enjoy me mainly on the pretext of the large inventory which they will be carrying. But yes, overall positive bias, but I have not analyzed the Parry Sugar's number yet.
Okay, well, the numbers look good. Operational performance has improved year on year. But Daljit, just wanted to finish the stocks that you recommended. The other one is from the auto space. Take us through that, and auto ancillary is what you like.
Yeah, Sonia, this is Lumax Auto Technology. Now, this company again is diversified into various products, especially they are basically the big trigger point is this auto shifters, which is the automatic gear shifters. Now that we see the trend in the smaller cars also, we will be moving from manual transmission to automatic transmission, and for that they'll use this automatic gear shifters. So that's a big game changer for the company. Second product that they've added is molded parts, and there again they've been doing well. This is almost for last 1 year it has been our top pick. They've been doing well. What we are expecting is that their margins, which last year same quarter was because of extra expenses had gone down to 7%, they will improve by almost 100 basis point to 8% or so this time, and so that will add, and then they have done some cost savings also, so which will mean that net profit will increase by 150 basis points in terms of margins. So that will give you good numbers from Lumax Auto Technology, and stock price has not yet factored in those positives, so it gives a good delta when the numbers will come.
All right, Daljit, thanks a lot for those investment ideas for long-term investments. But let's get back to today's trade. We have Nimesh now joining us with Dealing Room Chatter. Nimesh, we had a gap down. The good point is that it's not fallen much. In fact, right now as we speak, the market is off the low point and mid caps have done well. But what's been the feedback from the dealers?
Hi Rajura, while the markets are, the Nifty is trying to find some support at 1700 levels, but the feedback that I got from the dealing desk is, for the first time, most of the dealers are experiencing that the passive fund seems to be reluctant buyers of Indian equities. So that is something to watch out for. If consistently from here on, if you see FIs net sellers in the cash market, that would mean that the near-term upside for the market would be capped, and probably see gaps opening up on the downside. So today is the first day. So it's not a trend reversal, so to speak, but the FI numbers in the cash market will be very important to watch out for. Anyways, the feedback is that now the FIs seems to be hedging up in the futures market in terms of a possible downturn or a Nifty level of 7,500 or 7,650 on the downside. So that's the general sense that I'm picking up. As you rightly pointed out, yes, the mid caps are outperforming. There it seems to be a play of more of a retail play. It looks like the local investor seems to be latching up into the good numbers in the mid caps and small caps. So the sense is that the relative outperformance of the mid caps will continue at least in the near term. Said that, most of the dealers do feel that at least in the first half of the new series, the range seems to be between 76.50 on the downside and 79.50 on the upside. So we need to play in this 300 points move on either side. For a meaningful breakout on the either side, you need a big trigger. The next big trigger from the domestic point of view would of course be monsoon. So that's something to watch out for, but that's a month away. But in the near term, earnings will be a trigger for mid caps. But the larger sense is watch out for the FI flows. There seems to be tipping off a little bit. Not sure whether it's a trend reversal, but that's something which will set the near-term tone for the Nifty and for the Bank Nifty.
Okay, Nimesh, thanks for that. Yes, there are many stocks that are now seeing big moves on the back of numbers. Look at the intraday chart of Dabur. And remember when Dabur's numbers came out on Thursday, that was when the market had collapsed quite a bit. So the street did not get a chance to react to Dabur's good numbers. But since the market has stabilized, the stock has been only moving one way, and that's upwards. Mayuresh, wanted to get your quick thoughts on Dabur. The volume growth was very healthy for the company this time around at 7%. Would you buy this stock at 300 rupees?
Again, the long-term play is very compelling, Sonia, and the volume growth was extremely encouraging at this point of time. If you go in the preceding few quarters, they had a few issues with Nepal, and probably that was what had taken a hit in terms of the profitability performance. But going forward, I think amidst all competition that we were talking about in terms of Patanjali and the other players, if the monsoons are good, my own take is that the volume growth will remain extremely robust for players like Dabur, who have got a well spread out portfolio, skin care, oral care, shampoos, and that itself will hold it in good stead. So in my own sense of earnings estimates for the company over the next 4 to 6 quarters, the volume growth should be healthy. The kind of input cost deflation that we've seen has already played on to their margins. But again, I think with increasing volumes, you should basically expect realizations remaining extremely stable and that entire effect coming out to the bottom line. So yes, I remain extremely positive onto the stock with a long-term perspective.
Okay, so must say that today's been actually a good day for the bulls, because you had a gap down and the market is nowhere near the low point, and that's of course the decline is courtesy ICICI Bank, but so many stocks doing well, in fact, and so many earnings reaction on the positive side. More and more stocks joining the list. We just discussed Dabur. Sugar stocks are now getting active post Paris Sugar's numbers. A lot of stocks are now hitting circuit. Outh Sugar is almost at circuit. Uga Sugar is almost at circuit. Mawana Sugar, Dharani Sugar, Uttam Sugar. All these stocks are surging now as we speak. So that clearly stands out as a sector, and a lot of these stocks are doing well intraday, telling you that maybe the bulls are still quite comfortable taking positions in individual stocks, just that the Nifty won't reflect that, because the Nifty is having some problem in terms of ICICI Bank and a couple of other drags. Let's take a break on that note, but our closing bell money control question of the day is on the bearish view that we got today. Saurabh Mukherjee of Ambit believes 22,000 by year end is likely on the Sensex. Do you agree? Log on to moneycontrol.com and post your responses, and post 3:30 will read the most interesting ones.
And up next, to brighten up our Monday, we have our Monday special Midcap Mania with Nigel D'Souza, and the stock on his radar has gained more than 50% from its February 2016 lows, but is still about 25% away from the 2015 highs. You don't have to wait too long. Nigel will give us details on the other side.
Back. Well, it's a really remarkable day, because on a day when the Sensex is down 170 points, the Nifty is down 50 points, the mid-cap index could have easily gone down about 0.5% or even 1%, but the mid-cap index itself is up about 0.5%, and the advanced decline ratio is almost even Stevens. And as you can see on the screen, on the yellow tickers, a lot of stocks, individual stocks buzzing. So let's do one thing. It's time to revisit our Monday special Midcap Mania with Nigel D'Souza, and the stock on his radar is a company that may see an interesting FY17 on back of possible revival in the textile space. Nigel?
Well, Anuj, the stock that we're talking about is DCM Limited. Now, it's been a big underperformer. If you just take a look at the financial performance as well, hasn't been great. But as you said, there are a couple of triggers that could go in the company's favor. Now, just to give you a background of the company, it's into textiles. Most of its revenue comes in from there. It also has a casting business that primarily deals with auto parts, and also a small segment of their business comes in from IT services. I was looking at cotton prices move, and in the last week, we saw various listed cotton prices. That commodity in fact had moved, traded commodity that is, in fact moved up by more than 15%. That's in China. I was talking to Mangalam, and he said that Shankar 6 is a cotton variety that's used domestically. That as well has gone up by around 8 to around 9%. So that will give some kind of base for yarn. Remember, DCM Limited, their textile component deals with selling yarn, so that could benefit them as well. In terms of the promoter holding, the promoters hold close to around 45% stake in the company, and LIC, that's the big one, they're holding close to around 8.5%. in the company. Their land bank, that's been talked about for so many years, in fact for the last few years. I managed to touch base with the management. They said that there was squatters on some part of that land, and now in the last year or so, close to around 10 acres had squatters on it. That's been closed out, and in fact you're talking about 250 acres in Hisar, that's in Bihar, and in fact if you just give a valuation to that, if you give it at around 50 lakhs, 1 crore, then in fact you can derive what it's doing with it. But they're sitting on that land bank for so long, when exactly could they action something? In addition to that, they're running a mill on close to around 125 acres of land. Their spindle capacity as well has gone up by more than 60% in the last 3 years. It is at around 1.2 lakh spindles approximately, and the replacement cost, let's get the next split up, the replacement cost is around 30 to around 40,000 approximately. So the total replacement cost of those spindles should be in fact more than 300 crores. The other part of their business which is quite interesting is their casting business, as I was telling you, and Sonia has been talking about tractor sales. Now 50% of that revenue comes in from tractors. So in case we have a good monsoon, then in fact this segment as well could do quite well, though in the past 1 year it hasn't had a good year whatsoever. Basically they are making those boxes, and in that you put your piston, you put your shaft, etc. Finally, they have been paying dividend for the last few years. 3 rupees dividend on a consistent basis is what they have been paying. But let's point out some negatives as well to wind it up. It's been making losses in this year itself. If you take a look at it, poor usage of the land bank is something that really worries me, because you're sitting on such a big land bank. Why don't you do something with it and reward your shareholders? If we have a weak monsoon, then that entire tractors play goes out of the window. And finally, maybe too much of diversification. Someone who's doing casting is also into IT and also into textile. But watch out, a couple of triggers. Textile seems to be improving, so watch out for the stock. And also, if we have a good monsoon, it could be a fairly interesting company, though it's been an underperformer in the last few years. Back to you.
Okay, many interesting angles pointed out there. Thanks, Nigel, for that. This stock has gone from 65 to 100 before you know it in a span of 3 months. But Ashwini Gujral is still with us. He'll tell us what you should buy or sell today for a reverse trade tomorrow. Ashwini, over to you.
See, since NBFCs are doing so well, Bajaj Finserv is a buy with a stop of 1930, target of 2010. L&T Finance and Holdings, that started a fresh move with the results today. So that's a buy with a stop of 72, target of 81. And another one is a Capital First. That is a buy with a stop of 442, target of 460.
By the way, the market is again slipping a bit, so back below 7,800 mark, but no stopping the mid caps. A lot of stocks surging. Varinder now joins in with some buzzing stocks.
And a lot of stocks are surging clearly in the last 10 to 15 minutes also. But look at some of the small cap gainers. BL Kashyap up 20%. Juscol Alloys, that stock has been gaining since last few days. In venture growth, Walchand, People First, again the stock up nearly 20%. Sacheta Metal, that stock has seen some buying. I think the stock has almost doubled in the last 10 to 15 days. Gufic Bio, Signet Industries, Talberos, Porval Auto, Partly Boy, Nile Limited, Rajshri Sugar, most of the sugar stocks buzzing after Perry Sugar results, Simplex Castings, IP Rings, Makers Lab, Sandur Manganese, AVT Natural Products. Again, the stock has been limelight in the small cap space. Look at some of the mid cap gainers. Eros International, Marksans Pharma, Vinati Organics, GNFC, which is up nearly 10%, GSFC, which is buzzing since morning, Zuari Agro. Look at Raymond in an intraday chart, that's spiking up nearly 8-10% right now. Ramco Systems, all these stocks are moving up. Some of the results impact. Look at Vikram Thermo, the small cap company, came up with the results, very good set of numbers, up 20%. UPL of course, but Uniforce Enterprises up 20%. Naveen Fluorine up 15%. Shriram, we have been mentioning Cholamandalam Investment. Tin Plate is down nearly 10-11%. Interglobe Aviation, RPG Life, and LG Balakrishnan Brothers on the downside.
All right, Varinder, thanks so much for that. Well, we're in the dying moments of trade, about 10 more minutes left. Let's invite Anand Tandon into our discussion as well. Hi Anand, afternoon. The two spaces that are doing really well this afternoon, one of them is the NBFCs, of course, and the other one is the FMCG stocks, names like Dabur and Marico. Good set of earnings coming across the board. Would you buy into either of these spaces now?
The FMCG, though they have done reasonably well, I would still think that they are a little bit stretched in terms of the valuation. The NBFCs, of course, will always remain stretched. The better ones are already trading at more than 3.5 times maybe or thereabouts in terms of price to book. So the short answer is, if you're looking at valuation, no. If you're looking at momentum, yes.
Okay, that's Marico doing remarkably well in trade. Anand, good afternoon. ICICI Bank is having a bit of a reality check. We had seen the post-budget, of course, everything rallied, ICICI Bank included, but over the last 3 or 4 days, there's again a 10% dip. Is it good enough to buy, or do you think they're better banking stocks and you won't touch ICICI Bank right now?
Well, overall, I think banking is a space where competition can only increase. And, the margins actually, if you actually get a real cut in interest rates because of liquidity, right now we are only getting notional cuts in the policy rates. The real rate transmission can't happen because there is not enough liquidity in the system. If that were to happen, then you would actually begin to see some pressure on earnings. Overall, I think the banking system is going to become one of the most competitive space, is largely overowned and is mostly overpriced. So if you are looking for lower valuation stocks, I think ICICI at some stage will become attractive. I think right now it is not really that attractive because of the recent rally, as well as the fact that the earnings are not likely to catch up anytime in the near term. So if you are looking at getting into banking, I would still think that a Yes Bank, IndusInd Bank, perhaps a Kotak Bank or an HDFC are better places to be in, simply because their franchises are far stronger and you're really looking at top line, not so much the bottom line.
Okay, by the way, the stocks that are again surging now are again all the sugar stocks, because let's pull out intraday chart of a couple of these names. Oud Sugar is now up 6%. Balrampur Chini is again starting to make a move. So Balrampur Chini also now trading at high point of the day. Mr. Tulsian, these stocks have corrected a bit from the highs. Balrampur and couple of other like Dhampur, etc., from the recent 52-week highs. Do you think they can now start a fresh round of rally based on the kind of anecdotal evidence that we have on production and price numbers?
See, Anuj, ISMA has just now released the production of All India on a All India basis. It is 246 lakh ton as of 30th April. Now, if you take the situation prevailing in Maharashtra, UP, Andhra, all the mills have stopped crushing, or including Karnataka. Now, if you see, because of this scorching heat, we have seen the recovery also falling in Tamil Nadu as well. And maybe in next 15-20 days, Tamil Nadu crushing will also stop, and then maybe after that new season, which will start after 2-3 months, there we will not be going to see a production of more than 2.5 lakh ton. So if you take the entire production of this season, it won't be more than 250 lakh ton, and if you want to take a exact call, it will be 248.5 lakh ton, because if you just add 2.5 lakh ton, which I have said that only will come from Tamil Nadu, and add to 246 lakh ton, which production All India, which ISMA has just an hour back has released these figures, I think that is going to be seen quite low, because the earlier estimate was at 255 lakh to 260 lakh ton, which now working out to be at about 248.5 or 249 lakh ton. And even the next season, won't be seeing a production of more than 225 lakh ton, because there will be a drop of at least maybe 8 to 10%, overall maybe 15% in Maharashtra. So I think that we have been talking that yes, Perry Sugar has posted very good numbers, having presence in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and 1 mill in Tamil Nadu. They have total 16,000 TCD, but I think this is the trigger of ISMA having released this figure of 246 lakh ton, which has seen this renewed buying interest coming back. And mind it that on last week, that is in the last week, global prices have started firming up, because if you recall on Friday last 1 hour, we have seen all the sugar price stocks having started surging because of the rise seen in the sugar prices on the global market as well.
Okay, Mr. Tulsian, the other stock I wanted to talk to you about was Indigo. Despite the earnings coming bang in line with what the company guided for, the stock is down about 5% today. Why do you think that is?
See, Sonia, I don't think that results were really very good, because let me just come quickly, see the EBITDA, that it has been continuously falling, 22% YOY, 22.36%, on a sequential basis it is 23%, and it fell to sub 20%. Now if you see the overall, this is in spite of a drop in the fuel oil, in the fuel charges, and that fuel charges fell by about more than 210 basis point on QOQ basis and more than 600 basis point on a YOY basis. So I don't think that the guidance of the company will really be helping the investors here in this case, number one. Number two, if you come on the dividend policy, they have been saying that yes, 93.3% has been paid as a dividend. But if you just bifurcate the working of the company in two parts, that means when they went public in the month of October up to 30th September, promoters can take credit by taking the entire amount having earned by the company as dividend. But if you see the dividend, which they have paid now 15 rupees final dividend, including dividend distribution tax, works out to about 650 crore, and that translates to 53% of the second half PAT. So the kind of guidance given by the company, or I won't say that guidance, the kind of hint given by the company that they have always been very generous, they won't be requiring any money, the dividend payout will be very high, probably has disappointed the market. But apart from that, if you really see, maybe company has tried to devise a new method, EBITDA, EBITDA, they want to exclude the rental income also. I don't think that will really go well with the market, because practically on all the front, if you see lending fees, aircraft rental, on all fronts the costs have seen increasing, and this is minded in spite of the plant load factor seen highest YOY and QOQ, plant load factor of 85.1 against sequentially 84.6 and YOY 82.8. So I think on all parameters the company has disappointed, and probably we are seeing the profit booking in the stock. Yeah.
Oh yes, clearly 4.5% lower is what we have on Interglobe Aviation, and if you thought it's because of ATF hike, that's not the case. It's only 1% ATF hike, but 175 point lower is what we have on the Sensex. Let's just take final technical thoughts from our guests. Sudarshan, has the market texture changed yet? In a sense that have you got enough evidence that this market is now headed back towards say 7500, 7550? Should one take a short call positionally, or do you think you'll need some more evidence of that?
Well, it's not enough. While there is a very mild sense that this market is slowly drifting towards a deeper correction, the evidence is not enough. We are finding support at 7800 for example today, and that's higher than the 7750, 7780 support that should have emerged, which means we've not gone down to the lower end. And the fact also remains that we have been facing significant resistance at higher levels. So I would assume that further a couple of more down days, whether they come tomorrow or in the next few days, that will only tell us whether a deeper correction is coming. The trade is still to be on the short side, but stocks should be tightened.
Okay. Ashwin, I just wanted to ask the same question to you, just because we are about to end the day. At the start you said you won't be too disappointed as a bull because the market is nowhere near the morning lows or hasn't given shorts any kind of reward in today's intraday trade. But are you in a position to say that this market maybe will go back towards say 8100, 8200 kind of zone at some point in May or June series? Has the market given enough evidence of that?
See, basically last 3, 4, 5 sessions we were between this 78.30 to about 79.80 zone. We broke down on Friday, or broke down today with a gap. Now once a range breakdown happens, there has to be follow through. The key operative word today which is missing is follow through. And if a range breakdown is not following through, 1 or 2 days from now, if the market does not fall, who's going to get jittery here? People who are short at current levels, and that will take the market higher. So basically, whichever way people are positioned, if there's no follow through in that direction, the market generally tends to follow the main trend. Even if we fall 50 points, that's not a big deal, because 7750, 7700 is a strong support. We retreated several times while we were rising from those levels. So the market has quite a lot of support, plus you have mid-cap space which is doing extremely well. People are hopeful about the monsoon. So this isn't really the kind of bearish environment, the bad news environment you want for a correction. You should have had bad results have not come through. So there isn't enough to go by for the bears, and chances are we should get back towards 8000, 8100.
Oh yes, if anything, the results have been good today. A lot of the mid-cap names have done extremely well. Let's wind down the markets. We just have about 1 more minute to go. It will be a day where, although the headline index will be down about 0.5%, it's been a good day for the bulls, because if you just exclude ICICI Bank, the market perhaps would have made an attempt to close in the green as well. The mid-cap index closes with the good gains, and Anuj, many stocks in the mid-cap space sitting at fresh highs today.
Oh yes, I think Sonia, that's really been the story of the day. But not to say that that means that the bulls are still in total control, because this could well be market's way of sucking in more bulls in the mid-cap space and then having a larger correction. It could well happen. I've seen that play out in the past. So the jury's out. Let's just put it this way, that today was not as bad as the first 5 or 10 minutes indicated that it could be. But overall, it was still a down day for the index. And let's start with the big index losers. Of course, as Sonia pointed out, it's ICICI Bank right on top. 4% lower is what we have on ICICI Bank. In fact, quite a bit of de-rating for ICICI Bank in the last 3 or 4 days. Dr. Reddy's was the other big loser, down about 2.7%. The big problem today was also HDFC Bank. That was also down about 1.4%. IT stocks didn't do too well, so that was also a problem point. Wipro, Tech Mahindra, HCL Tech made a new 52-week low. ITC was down about 1%. So all these stocks impacted the market. On the way up, there were some big winners, but they don't make up for much in the index. GAIL, Hindalco, BHEL, Aurobindo Pharma, Ambuja Cement, all of them put together don't have much weight on the index. The only notable winners were Maruti, which was up 1%, and Reliance, which was up about 0.5%. But really, the big story was playing out in the mid caps. As you can see in some of these yellow tickers, a lot of big stocks, not just individual mid cap but non-index large cap surge today.
Oh yes, I mean Shriram Transport was the biggest stock to talk about. That company is has a 25,000 crore market cap, so it's not small by any means. 15% surge is what you saw in Shriram Transport today post its numbers coming in. To be fair, L&T Finance also had a good quarter this time around, so that stock too has hit a fresh high today, about 5.5% by the time we ended up trade. And L&T Finance as well is about a 15,000 crore market cap company. So a lot of non-index large caps surging today post good numbers. Added to that list is something like a UPL, which surged 11% post a good set of numbers that it had last week. A couple of these stocks like Dabur, Marico continue to inch up higher post good numbers. Biocon hit a fresh high today. That one too has had good numbers. So the common theme in this is that the good earnings are getting rewarded. Navin Fluorine, which is our earnings pataka, that company as well, it's a 5-bagger in the last 2 years, Navin Fluorine. It's gone from 400 all the way to 2000. So as you can see, another 15% up move on that particular counter. You had some more names in the form of Marksans Pharma, Eros International, Jyoti Structures, etc. that did well. Equitas has had a good run since its listing, so that one too was in the green today. On the downside, you had real estate stocks that corrected. HDIL was down 3.5%, Bank of India was down 2.5%, Ashok Leyland ahead of its numbers down about 1%, Indiabulls Real Estate as well in the red, down almost about 1.5% or so. But let's go back to our guests. If Mayuresh Joshi is still with us, Mayuresh, we've had a fairly decent run in a lot of the mid-cap names, especially in some of these agri-related companies like UPL, etc. What is your pick of the pack been this earnings season?
UPL has posted a brilliant set of numbers, Sonia, in my opinion, both in terms of how volumes have panned out, realizations, the operating margins, so no scope of complaints anywhere. Now, the only issue here henceforth would be how the earnings will pan out in terms of their comparative check and what kind of capex plans they follow. Now, the capex plans are really huge for the coming few fiscals. That might have some amount of drag down on their return ratios. But clearly, I think investors holding on to stocks like UPL from the agrochemical space, I think should continue holding on to the stock. And within the agri theme itself, I think I did like a stock like VST Tillers a few weeks back. I think that stock is poised to do well. If the monsoons are really good as one really expects, the tiller as well as the power sales, I think that should do really well for the company. The EBITDA margins have held up pretty well. I was hearing the management interview a week back on your channel itself, and again I think the management looks quite optimistic for the few quarters ahead. So I think VST Tillers is something that I'll suggest investors, if you're holding at low levels, continue holding on to the stock.
Okay, Anand, a word on some of these agri stocks. We've had 2 bad monsoon. The first prediction is that we'll have a good monsoon, and that's enough for these stocks to see 20 to 30% rally. Do you think they're good for more?
Well, they could be, but if you're looking at the Indian demand picking up, I would sound a word of caution. I think much of what we've seen from some of the companies would be more from exports and international markets. You have to remember that the farmer is in serious distress, and he doesn't have that much money to go out and start buying tractors and things like that almost immediately. You will have to have one decent monsoon with one decent crop before you actually start to have a widespread demand growth. That said, at the margin there may be an improvement for sure, but whether that improvement will justify the kind of move that we've already seen or further from here is to my mind still a question mark. And remember, we haven't yet seen the monsoon, we only have predictions about it.
That's true. I don't think anyone will be able to handle a third year of a drought. That would be disastrous, not just for equity markets, but more importantly for the economy as a whole. So we pray that does not come through. But for now, we will end the day on a sluggish note. The Nifty and the Sensex go home with 0.5% losses, but that doesn't mean that there was no action beneath the surface. There were many stocks hitting new highs today in the mid-cap space. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining us in the last 1 hour. Our closing bell money control question of the day was the comment that came in from Saurabh Mukherjee of Ambit Capital. He said that his Sensex target for the end of the year is 22,000. Do you agree? We have the poll which says 40% say yes and 60% say no. Well, some of the top responses, Anuj?
Yeah, we have some of the top interesting one. We have NIT saying that no one can predict the future target of Sensex or Nifty. Once global markets rally or FI buying happens, Nifty could actually move up to 8100 to 8200.
Okay, he's predicting it himself anyway. But a guest voter says with the Make in India push for the government, it's unlikely that markets will go lower than 25,000 in the current year. If the election result gives a positive mandate for the NDA government, then the Sensex is likely to touch 28,000. Another crystal ball gazer.
Yeah, but which election result are we talking about here? I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. We have Warren Stu saying that Ambit is perhaps the only fund house in India which is calling a spade a spade. Most other money managers are overcomplacent and are underestimating global headwinds, which are at record highs. Okay, now we have the big CNBC exclusive.